What is up, guys? Welcome to Garage 23, and today we finally get to work on the R34. Finally. Let's go. Okay, so we have been painstakingly collecting parts over the past more than a year, honestly. But you guys may have seen them sitting around. Mainly this thing that doesn't fit anywhere and has already fallen down once, and I'm not happy about that. But finally get to try and take the front end off and see what exactly the differences are and see if everything just bolts up or what. First thing up is gonna be removing the front bumper. Kind of got a little carried away and already removed the under tray and the fender liners. That's pretty basic stuff. There's just like 10 millimeters and pop clips holding them on. Now we can try and see how the front bumper comes off. And we will be selling this, so if any of you guys want it, let me know, along with side skirts, rear bumper. I'm assuming it's just like a normal Nissan. It has like 10 mil bolts holding the edges on and stuff. So, and probably a dozen pop clips in there. So let's start with getting a 10 mil. Not a 10 mil, it's a Phillips. And we already kind of went over in a previous video all the parts that we've collected so far. Oh, that's yummy. So you guys can click here somewhere if you guys want to check that video out. That's like an overview of like all the parts that we've gotten so far. It's not everything that you need. It's just everything that we've accumulated to this point. Or actually to that point. We've gotten a few more things since then. We should probably do another video. So the front one is a Phillips. The back one is a 10 mil though. Ta-da. And that's this side loose. So probably same thing on the other side. Okay, it's both sides. Now, we open the hood. This hood is like super heavy too, so I'm curious to see how much lighter that one's gonna feel. I mean, just moving it around definitely feels significantly lighter, so it'll be a nice weight reduction. So next up we have a bunch of clips. A nice little cheat that I found is getting one of these little organizer dealies. You can put all the nuts and bolts that you take off. Yep, thank you, Daiso. So 3 more clips behind the grill. Actually, I should have disconnected the turn signals first, probably. Haha. Ta-da! Super rare vintage JDM Altia Aero kit. I know what I got, bro. Don't lowball me. I guess I should get the hood out of the way. Probably 12 mils. Whew. I don't think it's ever been off before. This windshield washer dealie should probably get disconnected too. Look at that. Help.
Of course I'll help you!
All right, hood, bumper. Next up is fenders. Obvious ones are just the 3 usual ones that you have on top. It's probably a couple on the side. Looks like it's tied into the front bumper retainer. There's usually ones like behind here, so you have to like open the door. Oh, that might make it complicated. I hope the side skirt comes apart easily. So one on the radiator support. This one on the headlight. I hope does not break. Thank God. It's nice to see that the rust didn't penetrate that far. Like the threads are like pretty nice. Just the outside looks gross. And I got this one. And then another clip. I really need to invest in like a whole separate tool set just for the junkyard, because I keep taking the tools out of the toolbox to put in the tool bag and then I forget where they are. Let's start with the easy ones with these Phillips. 10 mil on the bottom. More clippies. So one at the very middle on top, and looks like another one at the front. So we've already broken a few of them, but luckily we found a company on Amazon that carries a pack of like 100 of them for like $5 or something like that. So very convenient. Looks like that's all of them. So now there should be more 10 mils behind the door. Okay, there's one. Pretty sure there's one at the bottom too. Can't see anything though. Okay, so 10 mil here, 10 mil there-ish, and I think it's loose. Oh. Yeah, I forgot the light again. All right, so pretty much should be rinse and repeat on the other side, just with less space. Okay, I've got all the panels off. She's naked. Don't look. But next thing we gotta take off is this bumper crash bar support stuff. So it looks like just 10 mil bolts, and then unfortunately it doesn't look like this comes apart, but should be able to get to those 14 mils back there. Probably 10 mils first. Interesting, it's like clipped on too. Although that's crusty. I'm like super surprised that nothing is like rusted, like stripped or anything, with how rusty some of these bolts look. Ta-da! So this is one of the pieces I was curious if we could reuse, because the GTR one is obviously different. Mainly it has like a square aluminum tube going across the front, but it's also like 600 bucks. So I don't want to buy that if I don't have to, especially if you're gonna have to cut it to clearance for like a intercooler or something. So I'm gonna hold off on that. See if we can make that work, or just make something else entirely, which I'm sure that'll still be cheaper than buying the original one. So from here, I'm kind of debating taking the intercooler off too, but one of the main things that I know are different are the hood latch support and the hood hinges. So those two things for sure need to come off. And one of the main differences with the hood latch support here is that it's, on the GTR, it's longer, not by much, but it should go down to like here. So not quite sure what we're gonna do about that yet. I guess we should start getting our new stuff out. Okay, we'll start with the easy bits. Just swap out the hood hinges. It's got some accessories, so I'll try not to break these. So hopefully we can reuse them. Ha. Okay, and then these should be 12s. Wow, that looks like extra shiny still under there. I'm not gonna crank it down just yet. Actually, I'm not gonna put these on either, because probably gonna want to paint that and don't want to risk breaking these again. So off into storage. Oh, other things that we got are the lower intercooler brackets. And I was curious about these because I've heard that they just bolt on to a GTT, and just from what we've seen so far, I could tell you that is not the case. But if you guys will check out the frame rails. So this is our passenger side, this is our driver's side. So these are supposed to go in the frame rail right here. And you can see they don't even fit. But on top of not fitting all the way, there isn't even any mounting holes where these are supposed to go. I think maybe we have that one that's supposed to go there, maybe. But the lower ones aren't there. There is one bolt hole there, but that's not doesn't look like it corresponds to this. On top of that, the frame rail itself is longer than on a GTR. Because if you guys will look at the spot welds, the tab that welds on from this cross piece here, on the GTR, the frame rail ends there. So this being a GTT, it extends all this way out. We're gonna have to cut all this off, which it's not the end of the world. So, but definitely not bolt on. So to use the GTR mounting brackets for the intercooler, cut this and drill a couple holes, then this should bolt in. And the upper ones should bolt to the crash bar thing. So I don't think they're gonna fit on that, but we'll see. Okay, next bit we gotta remove is the hood latch support. Look, the whole thing looks like it just bolts in, not like welded on like other cars. Okay, in the bin. So similar, but definitely not interchangeable. Or, I mean, they are interchangeable here. I mean, you can't use this one if you're gonna use GTR stuff. It looks like it's mainly like the angle at which the hood latch latches. That, and the main thing here is, like I said, the GTR one's longer, because for whatever reason, this cross support here sticks down further. As far as this piece, this should just bolt back on. Yeah, off like a 1/2 inch. So and this is our new hood latch. Come on. Okay, attach your hood latch cable first before bolting this on. Now I'll bolt it back on. Alright, well that's most likely not going to work. I'm going to try putting the fenders on, I guess. And getting all this stuff down. Alright, see if we can get the fenders on. I need to remove these little braces first. We're gonna have to remove the headlight. There's a serious gap. So the headlight has this little prong that is supposed to go in this tab, and it does kind of seem like this whole thing needs to just like stretch downward. But it feels like we're gonna break it. I'm like so nervous handling these headlights. They're like $4,000 and I really don't want to break them. Well, it's not great, but so I'm thinking the side skirt might need to come off because this is clearly not getting along with it. And maybe that'll help out with this gap here. Like here it's not so bad, but it's kind of all over the place up here. So, I don't know. It's a little strange. It's good enough for test fitting though, I guess. So for those of you who are curious, these are Sabon fenders that we picked up pretty much the same day we picked up our Skyline. We were in LA picking the car up from Long Beach, or Port of Long Beach. And Sabon is right in the neighborhood, so we're like, might as well just get everything now. And they're super cool. They gave us a good deal on everything. So we bought everything at the same time. It's nice that they at least try to brace it to keep it from like warping, but I mean, fiberglass is gonna warp regardless. I would have thought this would be a little more resistant since it at least has carbon on top. And so like with most composite parts, they need a little massaging. Like the hole where this prong is supposed to go isn't quite in the right place. So we're just making a little clearance. The one on that side wasn't the right size at all. And we managed to get that one fitting pretty well just by like opening it up a bit, so. It's looking pretty good. Alright, so that looks pretty good, but it looks like this top one needs some work. Really should have used a Dremel for this. Yeah, it looks way better. All right, now we can try the hood. Gently. Oh. It's like a huge gap on this side and it's like flush on this side. I think it might be hitting the strut bar. Kind of looks like it's recessed for it, but let's just take that off, see if it helps. Oh god. All right, let's try that again. I really hope it's not the intake manifold that's hitting, because that's gonna suck. Can't really tell if it's hitting on anything. There's kind of some marks on the underside of the hood here, so maybe some of this stuff. It's kind of hard to tell. It looks like this does come off, so I guess let's give that a shot and see if it helps. I mean, it looks clear. I don't know, maybe we just need to tighten this thing down. Let's see if that helps. All right, so obviously we got a little bit of a discrepancy here. And most people, they'll either just drill a hole through this thing and then just bolt it down how it is, maybe cut the excess off. I think that looks a little jank. Other people will cut this thing and then like shorten it and weld it. Also think that looks a little jank because then you have a seam running through the middle and it looks kind of ugly. So I've been thinking about how to like do this a little more elegantly. And I think what I want to try is, there's only 2 spot welds holding these things together. You can kind of see one on each side there. and then same thing with this one. So I want to try and drill out these spot welds, remove this vertical brace, and see if we can put this one on this guy. And I think that'll look much more fancy. All right, so first thing we need to do is we need to center punch the spot welds. You need to try and get this as perfectly centered as you can. Otherwise, when you cut it out, you won't get the entire spot weld and it'll be like stuck together still. That looks pretty good. And then to drill a spot weld, you need a spot weld cutting drill bit. So as you can see with the spot weld drill bit, it gives you a much more controlled, almost machining effect as opposed to a regular bit, which would just slice through the whole thing. And you need to pry it apart with something. It's still pretty on there. So let's get the other side. Hopefully that'll free it up. Oop. A little too much gas there. Yeah, that's essentially what we want. Just try and flatten them down, back down a little bit. And I don't think that's gonna work either. Yeah, it's still gonna come up short. So that kind of sucks. So the mounting hole is about here. And if we put the bolt hole there, we come up short on the bracket. All right, next idea. What I'm thinking is to try and reshape this curved bit to be flat so we can at least have like a decent place to drill a hole and put a bolt through. So we're gonna try and put it in the press and just like flatten that middle bit, see if that works. Might ruin this thing, might not, I don't know, we'll see. Okay, so I got a little spacer holding the vertical thingy up and keeping it from slipping because it's resting against the vice grips, which are clamped to the plate. So this should work. Famous last words. I mean, kind of worked. Made the top here a little ugly because it got the edge of that bar, but yeah, that's gonna line up pretty good. All right, so we marked where the bolt hole is behind here, and we pretty much nailed it. We just need to drill out a hole pretty much dead center in that spot that we flattened out. And try that, drill that out, and hopefully it will just bolt up. Actually, we should mark the bottom edge of this while we're here. All right, so I got our hole drilled, and let's see if it fits now. Beautiful. Yeah, it's a bit hard to close, but I mean, the gaps look pretty good. A little wide at the top on this side, but I mean, this isn't quite bolted on anyway, so let's see if it'll open. Ooh, sounds angry. The bummer is, with these hoods, there's been numerous instances of them just flying off and hitting the windshield. So I would not recommend you guys just leaving it with the hood latch. You have to get hood pins, which I really don't want to, but I also don't want this flipping up, smashing the windshield, possibly damaging the roof, and obviously wrecking the hood. So we'll be doing that at like some later date before we actually start driving it. Luckily, it doesn't seem to be an issue until you get like over like 60, 70 miles an hour. So if you're driving slow, it's fine. But yeah, it's definitely, with how fast these cars can be, you definitely want to have hood pins on it. But for now, let's continue on and see if we can get the front bumper on. Okay, for the next bit, we got all these parts from Trust Kikaku, and I had no idea where they went. And I thought this part went down here or something, and that's what I thought bolted up to this thing. I thought that bolts up there. Apparently, these two things, which did come together, get bolted together like this, and they sandwich the top of the bumper. So the top edge of the bumper goes here. So I was like, there's nothing here to bolt it to. Apparently we were missing two brackets that were not included in this front end conversion kit. So I had to go and figure out what the heck I was missing. Luckily, most American dealerships are carrying or at least able to order JDM parts now. So our local dealership had them in stock. Isn't that amazing? So these replace the old brackets that are on your headlights. Big thanks to Midway Nissan for helping us out with these. But these pretty much just go on the sides of the headlights like these. Which they still need to bolt up to that and they still don't match up. So that's another thing we're gonna have to mess with. But this at least lets us bolt up most of the stuff. All right, so right side bracket goes on your right headlight. I also picked up a little box of stainless hardware just because it feels gross putting all these new parts with these crusty ass bolts. So got a nice little box of M6 by 1.0. That's your thread pitch for anybody that's interested. So I'm just gonna replace these wherever they fit. All right, so let's do a secure. And the idea is that this, well, this is obviously isn't the correct one, but that's where this one goes. But as you can see, these two things don't really match up at all. So the GTR one has this tab lower and further over here. Also, the retainer brackets that go under the headlight, which are these guys, these bolt up to the fender, and it kind of has these mounting locations over here. So it'd go there, but then once you get on this side, you can see obviously that doesn't match up either. So another thing we're gonna have to get creative with, unless we just want to spend the 600 bucks and get the appropriate thing, which I would love to, but I can't right now. I don't know, we'll figure it out later. But for now, let's see how much other stuff we can get bolted on. So this probably is gonna fit over the bumper. And these two things are what gets sandwiched on here. So there's like little cutouts that line up with all these holes in the retainer. And then this piece goes on top of that, like so. And then back here's the mounting points that line up with this stuff. So luckily we bought a whole bunch of little clippies that hopefully fit on this. I think these are the right size. Yeah. Don't know if they're gonna be long enough though. And then the little plastic dealies go on the ends of the bumper. So they're labeled left and right. And they go right here. And they just clip on. Like that. And then these are probably gonna need a washer or something. Ooh. Oh yeah.
It's all coming together.
Well, that's what it's supposed to look like. I'm just getting so tired of that damn stupid overbite looking crap. I hated that bumper and hood. This makes it worth all the crap we've gone through. Couple little finishing touches.
Yeah.
All right, that's gonna do it for this episode. We finally got this car looking like it should. I mean, just look at it. It looks so much more aggressive. That's actually has me excited about this car again. I mean, every time I looked at it before with that derpy GTT front end, it was just like demoralizing almost, but now it's looking like a proper Skyline should. And I know it's not a GTR, but yeah, we can't afford a GTR, so screw us. I'm salty about it too, okay? GTRs were 60K new, and now they're 150 plus. We can't do anything else. We can't afford that, so we're gonna make our own, just like many other people are gonna have to, so I figure we should start somewhere. Yeah, I mean, it's looking great. So I'm still not entirely sure about this front end. I do love the original GTR front end, but I wanted something a little different, but this is definitely gonna have to do for now. And so in the next episode, we're gonna have to tackle that front bumper reinforcement, as well as do some of the finishing work, trying to line up the fenders and install the hardware to bolt the bumper on properly, and then get the intercooler in place. So that's gonna be for next time. Thanks for watching, and as always, do your best.